Battlefield fans, got some breaking news late yesterday, and honestly, I was really shocked to actually see it, and the way that it was clearly conveyed to the Battlefield community. Let's break this all down and what it means for Battlefield 2042 and the future of the franchise. What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and welcome back to the channel. So, I had to look back over my uploads, and can you believe it? The last time I posted a Battlefield 2042 video was over a year ago. Now, at that time, I was brutally honest when the game launched, and I pulled no punches. But despite EA and DICE's best efforts to absolutely derail the entire Battlefield franchise, 2042 has somehow managed to hang around. As for me, well, I played it at launch and uninstalled it, cursing at EA all along the way. I had maybe logged around, 20 hours of total playtime before I just uninstalled it until yesterday. Now, behind the scenes, I've been getting some nudges. Hey man, you need to try it out now. It's way better. It's like Battlefield 3 and 4. And I was like, how is that possible? So I reinstalled the game, grabbed Blasco and the Recon class, and hit record. Obviously, the huge news that dropped like a bag of 2-ton bricks was yesterday's announcement from DICE that Season 5 New Dawn goes live June 7th, which we all knew, and that Battlefield 2042's journey will continue with a Season 6. So yeah, they're planning on coming back with another season. And this news really goes against the sentiments that I saw flying around all over on social media, especially YouTube, that Season 5 was going to be it. Stick a fork in 2042, it's done, full stop, yada yada. And for all intents and purposes, Battlefield 2042 is kind of done when compared to previous Battlefield installments. Now, I often check out the Steam charts to give me a small snapshot of the health of a game's player base, and as of this morning, Battlefield 1 is sitting at a current player count of just over 8,600 players, and keep in mind, this is just on Steam, so no consoles, no Origin, etc. Now, Battlefield 1 was such an immersive game. Say what you want about the weaponry, the pace of the gameplay. Listen, I get all that, but for immersion, Battlefield 1 is just stellar. I was recently logging some hours over on PC, but there are so many questionable plays and hackers that I just stepped away and probably should have continued to play it on PlayStation instead. Battlefield 5 is still popping at 11.3 thousand current players. Listen, I get it. I understand the attraction to that game. World War II is a popular setting. I personally missed my chance to get into it, much like BF1, but many times worse, it is plagued by hackers as well on PC. And finally, here is Battlefield 2042 at just over 8,300 current players, so just a few hundred less than BF1. And I know some of you are out there probably saying, that's not too shabby, hanging tough with BF1 GGs, and I guess that is one way of looking at it. But here's my thoughts on 2042. It should be triple, even quadruple the player counts of BF1, assuming that 2042 was made correctly in a traditional Battlefield mold. I should go to Steam charts, and if BF1 is at 8K, BF 2042 should be at 30,000 to 40,000 players, and that's on the low side. 2042 is a game that launched with over 100,000 players on Steam in November 2021, and by January of 2022 had fallen to sub 20,000 player counts. But enough of the past. I don't want this to digress and turn into one of those kinds of videos. I mean, you've seen that kind of content from me in the past. Let's talk about the future of this game, and also what are my honest thoughts on all of it after stepping completely away from it for over a year's time. I've personally read through all the patch notes for Season 5. I mean, I still read all the posts. The notes, the change logs, the tweets. I've stayed current on all the dev vlogs. I mean, at heart, I am a die-hard Battlefield fan. Season 5 seems to be packed with tons of positive changes, and overall, the game has slowly but steadily improved since I last saw it around launch. Now, to be fair, that was an extremely low bar to try to exceed. I mean, when you're starting at the bottom of the basement floor, the only direction you can go is upwards, but yeah, those private messages I received were right. The game is worlds better than I last remember it. Yesterday, I decided to boot it up. I grabbed Blasco and the Recon class, equipped the God Gun RM68, and immediately started putting in work. First off, thank God DICE went back to traditional class setups. It's what Battlefield has been, it's what it should be, and I don't know what in the hell they were smoking when they originally came up with this hero shooter concept for 2042, but thank the Lord they were able to rework that travesty. I personally stayed away from matchmaking into 128-man servers. I mean, they just hurt PC performance too much, but one of the strong points of my time back into 2042 yesterday is that the game is actually kind of stable now. I was shocked. It used to bog down. I mean, heavy. But I was playing it in Ultra 4K locked into 60 FPS for my recording software, and it seemed to hold up nicely. I didn't see those original jump from full screen to windowed mode with no controls for 3 to 5 seconds, or the game could just outright crash bullshit issues I saw when the game first came out, so it has that going for it. Overall, it looks and plays better than I remember. I mean, 1,000,000 times better than it was at launch. So why doesn't it have the player counts that it should, considering it's the newest installment to the Battlefield franchise and set in a modern setting? And here's where we're going to be bringing in the news about Season 6, because I think this kind of plays a factor into all of this. And while it is great news overall for the Battlefield franchise, and especially so if you're a die-hard 2042 fan, for someone like me, who's a Battlefield purist, a traditionalist, if you will, well, where do I begin with all this? How about what we should expect in the upcoming seasons? And for reference, let's take a look at Season 5, which drops tomorrow. Let's remove all the changes, remove all the adjustments, that proposed increased AR bloom, all that, and break it down. You are getting 1 new map and 3 new weapons. And just off the top of my head, for comparison, I remember the BF3 Aftermath DLC, which is my personal favorite, dropping with 4 new maps. We got the Expo. I think it was a handful of new vehicles. We also got that badass scavenger game mode and a ton more. But back to Season 5, this new map is called Reclaimed, and it's basically Zavad 311 from BF4, just reworked. And that's pretty much it. And again, I'm happy that DICE seems to have continued interest in the franchise, but we have to look this all over and ask, for how much longer? Now, I know a lot of people thought that this was it. This was the end game. Season 5, end of story. As when we look back at what they did with Battlefield 5 as an example, and how they just pulled the plug on that game, a game that currently has more players playing it than 2042, and again, how DICE said they were diverting all these resources from 5 over to 2042 development. So what is it about 2042, besides the horrific launch and that slow grind up to a pseudo-playable game, that makes it hit rather meh with the Battlefield community? Well, let me put it to you this way. I have the most fun playing 2042 when I am not playing 2042. And hopefully you get where I'm going with this. I mean, let's throw out Hazard Zone for a moment, because that was a flop. And let's not discuss the single-player campaign, because that was nixed in favor of Hazard Zone. And let's just break it down to small little bits here and talk about the core game modes like Breakthrough, Rush, and Conquest. I personally tried out 2 of the 4 new season maps, and while I do like Exposure and Flashpoint, the other 2 I haven't gotten to yet, I've got to tell you, when I see the vanilla 2042 maps hit the rotation, like Kaleidoscope, Renewal, or Discarded, I fucking groan. I hate these maps. I loathe these maps, and these maps were supposed to be the identity. All-Out Warfare was supposed to be the identity of 2042, and that huge portion of the game is just terrible. In fact, the most fun I have in 2042 is not playing the bulk of what that game introduced, Hazard Zone, All-Out Warfare, or any of those vanilla maps. It's in fact when I'm playing on these old maps, like here with Noshar Canals, an iconic map from BF3. I mean, you've got terrain, you've got vehicles, some CQC, a ton of cover to take advantage of and move through and around while playing infantry. To me, this is Battlefield. Hell, I could even throw in the Bad Company 2 maps like Valparaiso or Arica Harbor. Destruction, intensity. I mean, I cannot tell you how hard Bad Company 2 hit me and my friends when we all booted into that game, and the whiz and the crack of the gunfire flying by your position. I mean, it was just so freaking insane. By comparison, 2042 feels tame and subdued. Hopefully you can understand what I'm trying to say here. And this is why I think the game is not even able to match the player counts from the less popular World War I setting game that came out in 2016. Who knows how long 2042 will be able to languish and continue in this seasonal format with these small drip feeds of content. One map, 3 weapons, and pages upon pages of changelogs. I mean, I want Battlefield to be great, but I just don't see 2042 being the game to bring it back to its glory days. Who knows? I may be way off base here. I mean, I did enjoy playing the older maps in the 2042 rotation, but I guess I want to know, was the fun I was having due to the nostalgia factor, or was it with the revamped classes and with 2042 itself? I really like your input into that one. But hey, we did get the big news. It's that Season 6 is happening. And who knows? There could be a 7 and 8 down the road as well. And as a follow-up question to all my viewers out there that are seeing this video, I know I've covered Battlefield in the past, but is Battlefield something I need to bring on a steady basis to the channel? Sound off in the comment section below. If you happen to like the video, make sure to hit subscribe, and while you're at it, ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. You can find and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and over in my open community Discord server, links to all of which can be found in the video description and pinned comments below. Shout out to the over 123,000 of you out there that have taken the leap and hit subscribe, and as always, a huge thanks to my patrons over on Patreon. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.